let me give you my 5 top tips in what creates a really good and missable experience. And at number 1, it's the story. So whatever your experience is going to be or is, your backbone of your experience is very much that story that starts, it has the middle and the end, and like all good stories, it has that structure. I'll give you an example of that. This is Kevin, who's up in Northumberland National Park. Kevin runs an experience called Live Like a Roman, and on this experience, you live like a Roman soldier. And he's dressed in costume, as you see before you, even that he looks a bit like a Viking. He takes his small group out along Hadrian's Wall in the National Park. He interprets the landscape, and you get to eat and drink like a Roman soldier would have done. And I can tell you, the food and drink isn't particularly that enjoyable, but it is fully immersive because it's obviously what they would have had, or similar to what they would have had at those times. But the story there, living like a Roman soldier, is told throughout the experience. So it's much more than just a theme, it's a story. So my experience, had the story of the scone, but it was very much about the cottage, coming into a cottage in the Cotswolds and making scones. So whatever your experience is, come up with the story and stick to that story and tell that story well. At 2, guests get hungry. Whatever your experience is, it's good to include food and drink, and where you can, include locally sourced food and drink and produced food and drink as well. Whether that's a cup of tea, pint of beer, a glass of wine, a sandwich, a scone, a bun, whatever it might be, it's nice to include some food and drink into your experience. It's a great way to get your guests to relax. It's a good way to get them to communicate as well, and also you can connect it in with your stories as well about Norfolk and actually build that in with what you're eating. And again, this is what makes an experience different from a classic tour, is that all pricing, all your food and drink is included in your overall experience price. So therefore, there's no hidden extras or costs. There's no options and saying, oh, would you like to add a sandwich or fish and chips on the beach? It's included. It's very much integrated into your experience. So there's no awkward moment when you go to the pub and you take guests and say, oh, who's going to pay for that pint of beer? Oh, that awkward moment, because it's all up front. You've explained all that before booking. Your guests know that they're going to get a pint and a ploughman's in that pub. And that's all paid for, and you can negotiate a really good price with the landlord prior to those bookings coming in. So where you can, include locally sourced food and drink. At 3, include something that's the unexpected, a surprise element in your experience, and this can be big or small. It could be some details about the local geology that most people might not know about or have an understanding of. So there could be little nuggets of information within your story, or you get guests to do something that really is an unexpected thing and actually, have an activity that they weren't going to, they're thinking they'll come in to watch as a demonstration, but actually it's a real hands-on experience and they're having a go at doing whatever that thing might be. So where you can, include something that's unexpected for your guests, a surprise. And at 4, as well as the unexpected, it's always good to include something that is expected, the quintessentially English or British or Norfolk into your experience. This could be as easy as visiting a local inn, having a ploughman, good quality ploughman's or a pint of beer, having fish and chips on the beach, these different things like that. We love to do them, and guests will love to do them, whether that's domestic or international. And I think we all need these really homely, comfy kind of things to do in these experiences at the moment, especially as we come out of the pandemic. So don't be afraid to be quintessentially English or British. Offer some of these things. They work particularly well with the international markets, because if you're traveling all the way from the US or from Australia, you want to come and experience these kind of foods and drinks and typically English types of things. So it's good to include, as well as the unexpected, some of those expected things as well. And at 5, keep it simple and be flexible. I can't say that enough. Whatever your experience is going to be, you'll find, and if you're already doing tours or experiences or working with the public generally, you'll know every guest, every visitor is completely different. So every group that you have will be different. And you might find that, when you're running your experience, you might have a really really slow group that are very chatty, but you're not getting to A to B to C in time. So you might have to adjust your experience and where the locations you're going to go and actually tweak it en route. You might have a group that are really super quiet and you're actually racing through your experience and everything's much quicker than normal. You might want to have some added extra options to put in, or venues or locations or sites you might visit, just in case you need a backup plan for that experience. We also say about being flexible as well. In the future, if you do want to work with tour operators or the travel trade, and this might be something you might look to do in the future, that's always quite a good idea as well. So if you're opening up and thinking about marketing and working with tour operators, it's a good idea to start thinking openly of being flexible about your experiences as well. Here's another great experience to give you some ideas. We're up in the Peak District again. This is near Castleton, an experience in the Blue Johnstone Caves. On this experience, you get to go caving. So these guys have been mining in the Blue Johnstone for generations. It's the same family that's been doing it for a long, long time. They've offered the classic tour to big groups and school groups for many years. And now they've moved into the experiential tourism market, and they're really reaping the benefits from that now. And on this experience, around about 8 people, so again, quite a small group, they get to go on they go around the caves and have a look around. They actually get to mine a piece of Blue Johnstone. So this is the only type of that particular Blue Johnstone that can be found anywhere in the world. So really, really special. They get to actually mine a piece and get to take it home. It's not as big as their hands, so don't worry, there's plenty left. And they get to take a small piece home, and also with another piece, they get to actually polish that in a workshop environment and then make it into a piece of jewelry which they get to take home. And for me, that's just a really good experience. It's set up to do these kind of things. Obviously, they've added in over time the workshop and the jewelry making, and it is obviously the caves that they've got there as well. So it might be not something you can do, but it's quite a good idea to see how that the stages of that experience are put together. And because this is about a 6-7 hour experience, teas and coffees and packed lunch is all included into the price as well as the kind of interpretation about the local geology and the landscape and all those things as well that you would expect.